even the best of us forget sometimes. But buckling up is one thing you always want to remember.
Seatbelts save lives. Drive safe, Alabama. A message from your Alabama Department of Transportation.
Good evening and welcome to Sports Night in Auburn. I'm Erin Wise.
And I'm Andy Hewling.
We've got quite the show for you tonight as we recap everything that happened this weekend on the Plains, and we go national and bring scores from around the leagues.
So keep it right here on Sports Night in Auburn, and we'll be right back.
Auburn looked to bounce back after a disappointing road loss to SEC rival Mississippi State last Saturday, welcoming the Tennessee Volunteers to the Plains this past Saturday.
Eagle Eye's Mary Lee Oliver has the story from Jordan-Hare.
The Auburn Tigers face off against the Tennessee Volunteers here in Jordan-Hare Stadium. The Tiger fans look to see how their offense responds to their loss last week against Mississippi State.
Auburn came into the game needing a fast start, and they would get it as Chandler Cox scored from 1 yard out, giving them a 7-0 lead. Tennessee's first drive would result in a field goal, but Anders Carlson would respond with a 20-yard field goal to extend the lead 10-3. But Tennessee would even the score as Jarrett Guarantano threw a 42-yard touchdown pass to tie Chandler. Auburn would have a big play of their own as Jarrett Stidham found Anthony Schwartz for a 76-yard touchdown to give them the 17-13 lead going into halftime. Tennessee would take over in the second half as Guarantano connected with Juwan Jennings for a 25-yard touchdown pass, taking the lead 20-17. Late in the fourth quarter, the Volunteers defense would force a fumble and go on to win 30-24, clinching their first SEC win of the season.
Right now, my feelings are, I'm disappointed for our team and everything. I'm not ready to sit here and make any kind of talk about staff or players other than I'm disappointed. We're going to watch the film and we're going to get this thing corrected. And that's my responsibility as head coach. Whatever it takes to get us corrected and to finish this thing the right way, I'm going to do it.
With the loss against Tennessee, the Tigers' record leads to 3-3. The Tigers will be on the road next week to take on Ole Miss in Oxford. Reporting from Jordan-Hare Stadium, I'm Mary Lee Oliver, Eagle Eye TV.
Auburn's offensive struggles seemed to continue against the Volunteers. Quarterback Jarrett Stidham did not play his worst game of the season, but he seemed to be a little rattled early. After throwing an early interception, that was only the beginning of Auburn's struggles on both sides of the ball. Stidham would finish the game going 28 for 45 with 322 yards and only 2 touchdowns, but also had 3 turnovers, 2 being interceptions and 1 being a fumble returned by Tennessee for a touchdown.
Auburn seemed to get the ground game going more than in previous weeks, rushing for 126 yards after failing to crack the century mark for the past 2 games. Anthony Schwartz would lead the way with 3 rushes for 44 yards, and Jatarvius Whitlow would be close behind with 12 carries for 42 yards.
So Auburn, this is Auburn's second straight loss and third conference loss, which drops us to 6th in the SEC West. And a lot of fans are calling for a quarterback change. What do you think about that?
Well, I think you've got to look at it that Auburn does have a young team out on that field, and Jarrett Stidham's one of the senior leaders, and I think a lot of people think that it's Jarrett Stidham playing bad, but a lot of it is that we do have a young team, a young offensive line blocking for him. But there are times that I think we've seen that Jarrett Stidham maybe needs to take the sack or throw the ball away when he shouldn't throw into coverage. I think Gus needs to look at both sides of that and just evaluate his offense and try to get a good game plan for the rest of the season that's going to work for Auburn.
That's very true. It's hard to put all that pressure on one person. That's a lot for someone to take. Coming up, we'll take a look at the scores from around the NFL.
Keep it right here on Sports.
Recently, our
Auburn.
country has witnessed catastrophic devastation. Hurricanes and flooding have upended lives and livelihoods.
Across this great country, Americans have answered the call.
That special calling that compels us, when others are down, to step up and do whatever it takes.
America's at her best when, against all odds, we come together and lift each other up.
Please donate to oneamericaappeal.org. America needs you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. You're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Yeah, I saw that coming. That will throw you off track. You're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Late Sunday, the Associated Press released their rankings after a wild weekend in college football.
The rankings go as follows. To almost no one's surprise, Alabama continues their dominance and takes the top spots, followed by Ohio State at 2, Clemson at 3, Notre Dame at 4, and LSU at 5.
Michigan comes in at 6, Texas at 7, Georgia at 8, Oklahoma at 9, and rounding out the top 10 is UCF.
Florida hits the rankings at 11, followed by Oregon at 12, West Virginia at 13, Kentucky at 14, and Washington at 15.
NC State comes in at 16, Texas A&M is at 17, Penn State at 18, Iowa at 19, and Cincinnati at 20.
South Florida came in at 21, Mississippi State at 22, Wisconsin at 23, Michigan State at 24, and rounding out the top 25 was Washington State.
The biggest losers from this weekend were West Virginia, who fell 7 spots after their loss to Iowa State, and Washington, who fell 8 spots after the loss to Oregon. The biggest drop goes to Penn State, who fell 10 spots after being upset by Michigan State.
The biggest winner from this weekend was LSU, as they jumped 8 spots after their big win against their then-ranked second Georgia Bulldogs. While the biggest losers were Washington, who fell 8 spots after their loss to Oregon, and Penn State, who fell to Michigan and dropped 10 spots in the poll. The Pittsburgh Steelers would travel to Cincinnati to face off against division rival Bengals. Pittsburgh would come away with the big win, as Ben Roethlisberger was able to lead the team on a game-winning drive that ended with a touchdown pass to Antonio Brown with 10 seconds left. Roethlisberger would finish the game 32 for 46 with 369 yards and a touchdown. James Conner would also have a big game, running for 111 yards and 2 touchdowns. Juju Smith-Schuster would played a key role alongside Antonio Brown in the passing game, as Smith-Schuster would finish with 111 yards and Brown would finish with 105 yards and a touchdown. The win moves the Steelers to 3-2-1, while the loss drops the Bengals to 4-2.
The Baltimore Ravens headed down to Nashville to take on the Tennessee Titans. It would prove to be a defensive showing for the men in purple, as the Ravens racked up 11 sacks on quarterback Marcus Mariota, who completed only 10 passes. Yes, that's right, 10 passes. The Ravens had more sacks than the Titans had completions. Alex Collins toted the ball for Baltimore, as he finished with 19 carries for 54 yards and 2 touchdowns, while Joe Flacco went 25 for 27 with 1 touchdown. The win moves the Ravens to 4-2, while the Titans fell to 3-3.
Arguably the most exciting game that did not involve a team wearing red, the Chicago Bears traveled to Miami to take on the Dolphins. The Dolphins were playing backup quarterback Brock Osweiler in wake of starter Ryan Tannehill's right shoulder injury. Osweiler would prove that he was capable as a backup as the back and forth game went to the Dolphins in overtime. The Dolphins and Bears both had chances to score in overtime, but after a fumble by Kenyon Drake and a missed field goal by the Bears, Miami would kick the game-winning field goal as time expired and get the win. Osweiler would finish the day with 300 yards on 28 for 44 passing with three touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Frank Gore also played a key role, rushing 15 times for 101 yards. The Dolphins would move to 4-2 on the season, while the Bears would drop to 3-2.
The Los Angeles Rams looked to keep their undefeated season perfect as they made their way to the Mile High City to take on the Denver Broncos. The Rams would ride Todd Gurley all the way to the win as he rushed for a career-high 280 yards on 28 carries and to go along with 2 touchdowns. The Rams quarterback Jared Goff would finish the day 14 for 28 with 201 yards and an interception as the Rams moved to 6-0 with no end in sight for their undefeated season and flying high offense.
The other undefeated team in the NFL looked to keep their winning streak alive as Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs made their way into Foxborough to take on Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. In a game that was the highest scoring of the day, the Patriots would use some of Tom Brady's magic to make their way down the field and spoil Mahomes' big day as the Pats would kick a field goal as the time expired to win the game 43-40. Brady would finish 24 for 35 with 3 touchdowns and 40 yards and a touchdown, while his opponent Mahomes would play very solid as well, going 23 for 36 and 352 yards with 4 touchdowns, but also had 2 interceptions, his first of the year. The win moves New England Patriots to 4-2 and the loss drops Kansas City to 5-1.
As of right now, the World Series is up for anyone and everyone's grasp. The NLCS between the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Milwaukee Brewers is tied up at 1 game apiece, and the ALCS between the Boston Red Sox and the Houston Astros is tied at 1 game apiece. The Brewers and Dodgers will be the next one to play, while the Red Sox and Astros will play again tomorrow. Volleyball traveled to Baton Rouge Sunday to take on LSU. They lost the match 3-0. Freshman Tatum Shipes led the Tigers with 10 kills, and Brenda McElroy added 13 digs.
The women's soccer team traveled to Missouri on Sunday and won their game 1-0. Haley Whitaker scored for the Tigers in the 69th minute for her 2nd goal of the season. The win was Coach Hoppe's 300th career victory, making her the 28th coach in Division I to reach this milestone.
The women's tennis team had a successful weekend at the ITA Regionals on Sunday, picking up 13 singles wins in doubles and singles. The team of Sophia Graver and Taylor Russo won their first 3 matches to make the semifinal. Jada Daniel made a run in the singles tournament, making it all the way to the quarterfinals.
Coming up, we'll take a look at everything coming up on the Plains. Stay tuned.
Open road, here comes the Heffley family.
Whether it's a short trip or a long haul.
Estimated time, 47 hours.
They will beg.
You're hungry? I'm happy to provide.
They will plead.
Deep fried butter on a stick.
But whatever you do, don't wimp out.
Now you're talking.
Make them buckle up.
He can't hurt.
Remember, safety first. Cheese curls second.
Are you orange?
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
When I get all steamed up, then I shout.
Tip me over and pour me out. Oh.
It only takes a moment to make a moment.
Cheers.
Take time to be a dad today.
Don't let me show her.
Men's tennis will travel to Tuscaloosa to compete in the ITA Southern Regional on Thursday. The event will last 5 days and will finish next Tuesday.
Women's soccer will return home on Thursday night to face off against Vanderbilt, with kickoffs being set at 6:30 p.m.
Softball will also be playing Thursday night as they host Snead State. The game will start at 6 p.m. and can be seen on the SEC Network Plus.
Equestrian will be at home on Friday to take on Oklahoma State, with the event to start at 3 p.m.
Women's volleyball will travel to Missouri to face off against the Missouri Tigers on Friday. The match will begin at 6:30 and will be shown on the SEC Network Plus.
Swimming and diving will compete in their first regular season match on Saturday at 10 a.m. as they host Florida Gulf Coast.
And Auburn football goes on the road Saturday to play the Ole Miss Rebels. Kickoff will be at 11 a.m. and can be seen on ESPN.
That's all that we have for you tonight. Be sure you're keeping up with all the latest Auburn sports news throughout the week by following us on Twitter at EETV_sports, and be sure to head to our website, eagleeyeauburn.com. I'm Erin Wise.
And I'm Andy Hewling. Thanks for joining us, and War Eagle.